I've got something absolutely exclusive. No one else is reporting on this. There's a brand new EV hypercar that is going to challenge the Lotus Evija. We're talking hypercar, we're talking super high-end, and also we got to talk about the 86, the Toyota 86. Looks like it might be on hold. So I was just contacted about this. This is a very, very interesting car. This is called the Newton Alpha. So you probably remember the Lotus Evija. It is, of course, Lotus's first all-new electric car. It's a hypercar. It's supposed to have somewhere in the range of 2,000 horsepower. It costs somewhere around 1.7 million pounds, $2 million plus or minus, give or take the exchange rates. And it's not really out yet. So what I can share with you is this. So this is called the Newton Alpha. The company is Newton DDR. I'll put a link to the company down in the description. And so this is directly from the company. They're saying, what if an aerospace team built a car? The Newton Alpha takes aerospace guidance and control to offer a revolutionary driving experience. This is a brand new electric hypercar that will boast north of 2,000 horsepower and be capable of redefining what is possible in a car. So here's another shot of it. This is a California company, and this was started by some aerospace engineers, and they say that this has got the guidance and control and navigation systems from aerospace. So it's not just carbon fiber, but they're going to use the guidance and control systems. So they say that the Alpha has an ECU which is derived from previous rocket controllers, capable of fully revolutionizing the means of active suspension and aerodynamics, and production is going to be limited to just 42 examples. So I reached out to Newton last night when I saw this and tried to get a little bit more information on it, and as I understand it, the aerodynamics are going to be fully active, and it's going to be revolutionary in terms of the way that it makes the car perform. We're talking about very active aerodynamics and a very active suspension setup as well. And this is really well into the hypercar territory here. Now, this is going to be a full EV. We're talking about 2,000 horsepower, which is, interestingly enough, about the same number as the Lotus Evija. So the shape is quite interesting. It definitely reminds me a little bit of the Pagani Zonda. Here's the Zonda for reference. So it doesn't seem to be quite as cab forward as the Zonda, but it has a cab which is quite round, quite sort of bubble-like, and the front of the car swoops down like at a really, really aggressive angle too. The rear appears quite long in this thing, so I don't know if this is just a render or if this is an actual photograph. I don't have that much information about it yet. So looking at it from another angle, I'm gonna guess this probably is a render. We have these interesting mirrors, these sort of wing-style mirrors, which also reminds me of the Zonda. And then going into the rear, we can see the rear of the bubble-shaped cockpit, and it's a little bit difficult to see what's going on with the taillights, but I do see some kind of maybe an LED, or I'm not quite sure what that is. And the fender seems to be a little bit separated from the rear wheel there too, with some, looks like some prominent arches over the rear wheels. So at the front, there's clearly a big lower lip. We can see sort of a frunk type area in between the front fenders with some, looks like some aero pieces on top of the fenders. So I got a lot of questions. Let me know down below in the comments what your questions are too. I think I've got an interview scheduled with some of the engineers in the next couple of days, so we'll figure out what this is. It's a California-based company. Apparently they are moving into production. The price is going to be probably really expensive, probably in Lotus Evija territory. So this is kind of a big mystery right now. I know there's a lot of interesting startups, like there's the Wolf Alpha, the micro truck I talked about a couple days ago, maybe it was last week, which is a $38,000 EV, little micro truck, kind of interesting. This is another startup from California with sort of a similar name, the Newton Alpha. Kind of an unfortunate coincidence that they have the same name, but let me know what you want to know, and I'll see what I can do in terms of an interview in the next couple days. Next up, we're going to talk about the 2020 2023, maybe Toyota 86. It seems to be like on pause for the moment. So as I'm sure you're aware, the 2022 Subaru BRZ was announced, released pretty recently. It's got a pretty big refresh. It's still on the same chassis, but they did do some very significant changes to a lot of the car. They did some pretty major redesign to the body, and most significantly, it has an updated engine. Without getting into all the details, it goes up from the current 205 horsepower. Maybe it's not really current. I'm not sure that it's actually sold for 2021. I don't think it is. I think 2020 is the last year. But now with the new one, they've gone with the 2.4 liter boxer engine, not turbocharged, making 228 horsepower. And very significantly 184 pound-feet of torque, which is a huge bump up from the current 156, I think that it is. And apparently the torque curve is a whole lot better too. So I don't think any journalists have actually driven it yet. I think there's just been sort of this press release, press day junket at the track where journalists were driven around. So anyways, there's been a lot of talk. Where is the 2022 Toyota 86? They're twins. So over at our favorite secret rumor site, a Japanese website called the Next Best Web, or the Best Car Web, Japanese website, they're saying that the Toyota 86 will be released late next year to differentiate itself from the BRZ. The BRZ and the 86 were basically mechanically identical, and even the body just had very, very minor differences too. The interior was basically the same. So these were real mechanical twins. These cars were real twins, not like the Supra and the Z4, for example, which have some much more significant differences, despite being sort of the same underneath. These two cars were essentially the same cars, just with some minor tuning. So it seems like now that Toyota wants to do something a little bit different, perhaps something quite different. Now we're using the joys of Google Translate here, so forgive me for the Google translation from Japanese, but I think we're going to get a pretty good sense of what's going on. So they're saying the exterior design, like the new BRZ, follows the short deck style with a low bonnet hood and adapts the ducktail style on the rear end, and becomes the royal style of the two-door coupe that emphasizes glamorousness. Yes, this is a glamorous, elegant vehicle. Anyways, this is their speculative render. I wouldn't read too much into that. It looks quite BRZ-esque. If I had to guess at the way it's going to look, I think it's going to be a little bit Supra influenced, maybe a little bit of Supra light, but still differentiating the car quite a bit. So this article talks about the size being essentially the same, going to have the same 6-speed manual transmission and the same 6-speed automatic transmission as the first generation, strut front suspension, double wishbone rear suspension. I think underneath the skin, at least, the suspension is going to be quite similar to the BRZ. And here's where it gets interesting, and we are entering into the rumor category here. This is, again, a Japanese rumor mill website. I'm not really sure how accurate it is. They've definitely been wrong in the past, so take this with a grain of salt, but they've been right sometimes too. So we thought we were going to get it at the end of this year like the BRZ, but apparently Akio Toyoda ordered the new 86 development team to differentiate itself from the BRZ in terms of performance. And so in response to this, it is almost certain that the new 86 will be released next year. So we're talking about like a year away from the BRZ. So this time Toyota and Subaru will jointly develop the new 86 and BRZ in the same line. However, it is said that the new development team is struggling with the unexpected difficult problem imposed by Akio Toyoda. I didn't mean new development team, I meant development team. So specifically, the new 86 has been cited as an option to improve the acceleration feeling by changing the gearing, in some cases to change the engine tuning, and the goal is to finish it so that you can differentiate, you can see the difference with the BRZ immediately after riding. Even if it takes time to make my debut, I want to wait with an expectation. I'm not sure who that statement is attributed to, but we'll attribute it to Google. So one thing that we do know for sure is that the BRZ should be going on sale a little bit later this year. I don't have an exact date, but certainly I would think by the fall. And there's been no word from Toyota on the 8.6. The last time I spoke with Toyota, they didn't even acknowledge that there would be a new car coming. It's sort of a tacit but we don't see it yet. I know people that have seen the 8.6. They say it looks very good, but that's really all that we have right now. So let me know down below in the comments, do you think this rumor is really accurate? Do you think Toyota is going to push the 8.6 out an entire year to differentiate it from the BRZ? I don't know. That doesn't sound quite right to me. If they do that, they're definitely going to have some sales loss cannibalized by the BRZ, that's for sure. How much difference in performance are they really going to get? We're still going to be dealing with the same engine and powertrain, so considering that it's not turbocharged, I can't imagine that the difference would be that great unless they really change the gearing. Difficult to say. I think the tuning of the suspension could be quite different too, so we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm not really sure about this rumor, so let me know down below in the comments. My name is Eric, and I will see you in the next video.